Hey yo, Chi-Town, listen up. You are now listening to the best sports talk show in the Windy City. Combs and Fitz. Windy City Sports Talk. Give it up for them. Let's go. From the burst of the lake, there ain't no mistake. That Combs and Fitz gonna have the greatest of the hot takes.
Okay.
So hop on the board and join the bandwagon.
Ooh.
They gonna keep your feet moving and sometimes how you laughing.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
come on through with the sports talk is what you wish. The West know what's up and don't miss. Fitz gibberish.
I can't do
It
that.
don't matter what team you playing. Well, West gonna burn that flame. So put your team on the map. Guess what? We gonna do the same. From Comiskey to Wrigley.
Well,
From Soldier to UC.
okay.
Windy City Sports is where you need to be. But there is no furthermore. You get the jits. So let's get the rest for Combs and Fitz.
And what is going on, Windy City Sports Talk fans? It's your boy Brandon Combs, along with my guy Ryan Fitzgibbons. What's going on, Fitzy?
Lots of action out there, Combsy. Lots of action. And I'm not talking about the Oscars last night, which I watched like 15 minutes of.
Yeah, I don't think any of the free agents came in nude.
No, none.
I
None of them had thongs on.
don't even want to know what happened last night. I saw the photos last night. I haven't watched the Oscars. I saw a photo posted.
It wasn't
Was
good.
it
It was
stupid?
like awkward. There was some funny parts. Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger came out, and like, yeah, you know why we're out here? Because we both tried to kill Batman. And then Michael
boy.
Keaton in the front row, and he's like bringing out. It was kind of funny the way they did it. Their comedic timing is pretty good. But other than that, no.
Well, guys, we've got a great show lined up for you today here on Combs and Fitz. We're going to talk some football. Lots of stuff going on. We did not plan on talking football today, but the NFL changed our mind. The Bears made some moves, the Packers made some moves, and everybody in the NFL seemingly made some moves. We're also going to talk the Chicago Cubs. We've got an interview, a pre-recorded interview with Alex Cohen, the voice of the Iowa Cubs as well. So it'd be great to for you guys to listen to and maybe get some feedback on it as well. And a guy that we might have on the show more than once or twice. I talked to him a little bit after the show last night. He really enjoyed it. So it'll be good. Yeah, it's a good time. He's very gracious with his his time for us. You know what I mean? He was very gracious. A busy schedule. The guy's over in Arizona calling, spring training games, and was still willing to give us 20 minutes of his time. So great stuff coming up. We got a lot of stuff going on. What's going on? Facebook user, for all you guys that are on Facebook user, Gardner Minshew, Facebook, all you have to do is click on below and allow StreamYard the opportunity to use your Facebook profile, and then we will know who is speaking with us. We're on so many different Facebook pages. If I had to look it up to find out who is talking right now, I probably would not be able to find it. But we are on a lot of different ones. We're on Dads with Bacon. Our guys over there at Dads with Bacon, they do a great job. They picked us up as well. We're on a few other pages, so kind of hard to tell where the comments are coming from. So just allow StreamYard to use your Facebook profile.
We want the ability,
and we will know who we're talking to.
We want the ability to call you morons personally.
I mean,
and you could do the same to us. I mean, we take all coming. So,
but yeah, man, look, it's been a busy day. But before we get into that, how about we get into a little bit of Fitz gibberish, man?
Yes! He's a vengeful god, but he's a good god, Mr. Combs over there. Yes, this is Fitz gibberish. It's a diatribe. It's a conspiracy theory. And yes, it's an island in the middle of an unapologetic and sometimes inaccurate sports talk. I don't think we said enough yet to be inaccurate, but you never know with us.
That's true.
So, we're both married, Combs. So we know how to lie, right?
I've been divorced a few times.
Well played, you son of a bitch.
So you definitely know how to lie.
Sicilians are great liars. Best in the world. I'm Sicilian. My father was the world heavyweight champion of Sicilian liars. From growing up with him, I learned the pantomime. There are 17 different things a guy can do when he lies to give himself away. Guy's got 17 pantomimes. Woman's got 20, guy's got 17. But if you know them, like you know your own face, they'd be lie detectors all to hell. Now, what we got here is a little game of show and tell. You don't want to show me nothing, but you tell me everything.
That's obviously Christopher Walken from one of the best scenes in the movie True Romance. And yes, we've talked on this show, like he said, that in the NFL right now, it is lying season. In the land of the blind, the man with one eye is king.
I've seen this one. This is a classic.
Thank you, Marty McFly. The person who could pick out a bad liar and lie himself is king in the NFL draft season. My grandfather taught me poker at a young age, and in many ways, he was teaching me manipulation, which is really just refined lying to get something specific. The thought was that Ryan Poles was pretty good at this, pretty good liar. When he said 2 years in a row that he would have to be blown away by a QB in the draft to move on from Justin Fields, we both thought it was brilliant. Use of words and a great tactic. It showed they valued Fields while still needing a lot to trade the number 1 pick for. All the Bears only have 5 picks in the draft right now after the deal with Buffalo for a backup center or wherever that guy plays. Anyway, making drafting Williams even riskier than we would have thought coming into the offseason, since Fields' interest keeps diminishing, yes, by the day. Today, maybe even a little bit too. They are not getting a second-round pick anymore, it doesn't seem. Now, you can blame some of that on Fields, and I'm sure some of it he's worth it. But you can blame a whole lot more on an organization who has built around QBs like a trucker trying to get a hard-on with a mouthful of amphetamines and a crystal meth kicker.
Whoa.
Not well. They have not done well. Just having Darnell Mooney as your number 1 receiver for 2 years and your left tackle being a 5th-round pick from Southern Utah tells you everything you need to know. But some of this has to fall on Ryan Poles, who, when asked during a combine presser why he would want to make a decision on the number 1 pick or Justin before free agency, said this.
Yeah, again, it just depends on what opportunities pop up. I will say this. I think you guys know me well enough now. If we go down that road, I want to do right by Justin as well.
I do. Did you hear that? He had to backtrack and say, Yes. He had to say F. He caught himself in the lie. And now everybody knows he wants to unload Fields. You just supplied the NFL with Fields and shrunk his demand. There are some cracks showing in my trust of Poles and his ability to negotiate this first pick tightrope walk he's made for himself. He should have taken a clue from Eddie Murphy Raw when Eddie Murphy joked about a friend lying to his girlfriend after being caught in bed with another woman.
It sounds like a tragedy, right? No, it was like this. Baby, wait, baby, look, hold on, wait, we got to talk. Baby, I am sorry. No, you're not sorry. I can't believe you did this to me. You have no respect for me or our house. Get the fuck out, don't you touch me. Don't fucking touch me. Wait, baby, I am sorry. Wait a second. No, you're not, because if you're sorry, you wouldn't have fucked her. But then you change the shit around, right, guys? Okay, wait a minute. Wait 1 second, goddammit. Yes, I fucked her, yes. Is that what you want me to say? I fucked her, right? I fucked her. We fucked, all right? You happy now? We fucked. Now let's talk about the word fuck for a minute. Because that's a very important word here. Fuck, yes we did. Fuck, yes we did. Fuck. I fucked her. I make love to you.
I'm starting to believe that Fitz Gibberish's only plot is to get us banned off of every platform we are on.
I could have played the Bill Clinton video from when he said it depends what the word is, it means. But I picked that one.
Oh, God.
Poles talks a lot about development. He still has a very long way to go in my mind. Combs, Do we lose all our listeners?
I mean, if we haven't lost all of our listeners, that would be amazing. But yeah, no, I look Ryan Poles with God, Jesus.
Unapologetic and sometimes black.
See, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that happened.
Did you catch it from his presser though?
I did catch that during his presser. I did. Look,
he backtracked and he looked like a deer in the headlights after that. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God, what the fuck did I just do? And it just was so obvious during the whole combine that they're trading Fields.
Right.
You kind of lose his value a little bit there.
Yeah, and look, when you overplay your hands, like poker, right? You're sitting there at poker and you've got a decent hand, but you know that there might be that one hand that beats you or two hands that beat you. And you start looking around the table and you see a couple people in, so you bet it way too heavy. And that one person has that hand that knows that they have you. And so they just keep leading you in. And now you've painted yourself into a spot where you almost are going to be forced to trade the number one pick. Or you're going to be forced to trade Justin Fields for pennies on the dollar. Those are your two options right now.
I mean, it's going to be pennies on the dollar. I think they're going with Williams no matter what. I mean, at this point, if that's the guy you want, if that's the hunch you have, then, you have to go with it. If that's your instinct, like he said, you have to go with it. I used to have a buddy who, when he had a really bad hand, he would go like this, and he was bluffing. He would go like this. So I would always go and pick it when they. It's like, come on, you can't have your GM be like that, man. Especially in football.
Yeah.
Especially in football.
And that's the thing where, it might be one of those things now where, if you're looking at Washington, or maybe you're looking at New England, you're looking at one of these two teams, and now you're like, okay, here's the deal. If you want Fields, we'd be willing to do Fields. This is a trade I talked about before. Fields, number 9, next year's first and next year's third for number 2 or number 3. And that way you get Caleb Williams and you get Marvin Harrison Jr. But I just don't know if either one of those teams are okay with doing that, because to me, that just there's no reason for them to do that.
No, I mean, I don't know if some people have soured on Williams either. Like, might not give I don't know if that happened during the combine. It seemed like he out his stock, but I don't know. I mean, like I said last week, NFL went before the black gas made it on the screen. What I said last week was that, NFL owners are very conservative. This is a very conservative ownership. At least a lot of them are. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, who knows if they didn't like what Caleb Williams said? He's doing a lot of things that players haven't done in the past. Kind of didn't like it. He showed he didn't really like the combine, and then a couple guys went with him. I mean, I don't know if that was coordinated or what, or if he knows who Marvin Harrison Jr. is or Jaden Daniels. Marvin Harrison didn't do a lot of running for it, didn't train for the running. And I understand that. I mean, I likened Kevin White a few years ago when he got shin splints and then he never got healthy. Then he ran like a fullback after a couple of years. It was weird.
And it's crazy too, because we start, like, you've heard me say it before. You heard me say that I believe in Ryan Poles. I believe in Kevin Warren. I believe in the things that the Bears are doing right now. And then you get this, and it's just like it's like every other GM that we've had before, and it's like, oh God, here we go again.
I've seen this one. This is a classic.
Exactly. I mean, we've seen this show before. We've seen this movie before. We know how this works. So now you're with a quarterback now that you've already shown and you've already put out there that you don't want. For whatever reason, look, me. Look, the jersey's still back here. I'm a Fields guy. I think you can build around Fields. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good problem to have between Fields and the number 1 draft pick. I get that. But I think you can build around Justin Fields. I think you can do all of that stuff. I think that Justin Fields is that guy. But then when you go with Caleb Williams or whoever the case is, now you're stuck. You can't have Justin Fields. All these people out there, all these Bears fans talking about, well, why can't you draft Williams and just keep Fields and have them battle it out for the number one side? You don't do that. No, if you're going to do that, if you're going to draft one of these guys and you want them to sit, it's going to have to be around a veteran, not around a guy whose job is in question. And you can't do that to Justin Fields. It's not fair to Fields. It's not fair to Williams. It's not fair to the guys in the locker room.
Crazy. That's dumb. And all that's yeah, they had a very bad week. The Bears had a very bad week, that combine week and the subsequent week. I mean, this is really.
Why do I believe that Doubting Thomas actually has one? Says, I'll give you a used station wagon for Justin Fields. Why do I feel like he has one sitting on the lawn of his house
with the fake wood paneling on it and everything?
Yes. And it's just packed full of boxes and junk
and dead hookers. Anyway, anyway, this is going to end just like we were yelling and talking about it ending. And then on top of this, don't forget that we still have the same coaching staff. That now we're going to do this again to another quarterback where we have a linked up coaching staff that they're going to be out as well. But what's going to happen is there's not going to be there's still too many holes on this team for 5 draft picks to fill. Tell me how that number 9 draft pick is going to fill a defensive end and a left goddamn tackle. Can I have one left tackle?
Look, you and I keep going back and forth. You want a left tackle. I want a center. We keep going back and forth. I think center right now is more important than left tackle. I think you could draft a left tackle.
Get a center. You have to draft a left tackle, or you have to he just has to have a bad team that he's on that just wants to get rid of him for a pick.
You have 5 tackles in this draft that have a first round grade on them, which is unheard of. 5 tackles in this draft have a first round grade on them. You can get a tackle in the draft. They don't have that at center right now, and you need a veteran center. Well, again, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. You need a veteran center. Whether you keep Fields or whether you draft Caleb Williams, you need a veteran center that can call out blitz packages and read defenses and do all that stuff to take the pressure off of the young quarterback from having to do that. That's why you need a veteran center. So that's why center is the number one. You have to go out and get the best center in free agency. You have to. And if you don't, it's a bad offseason.
You can do that. You can do that in free agency. I mean, I don't give you a lot of accolades, but last year after the draft, you said, why didn't they get a center? Yeah. Why didn't they get a center? I mean, they really, or even in free agency. Look, I thought TJ Edwards was great. Edmonds was all right, whatever. But they were good pickups. They were, but they're still middle linebackers. They're not protecting. There was obviously a problem at center. There was a problem with the offensive line. I mean, the entire offensive line was offside on a play.
And what did the Bears do today? Free agency hits. What do the Bears do? They go get a running back.
See, I like Swift.
I like Swift too, but I feel
exactly.
We're so deep at run, like with Roschon. I feel Roschon Johnson's a stud. You in behind Roschon Johnson. I mean, I know you get Tariq Cohen who gets hurt a lot. I know you get a lot of your running back room gets hurt, but you got Roschon Johnson. You've got so many other needs. I just don't understand why $24.5 million over 3 years to DeAndre Swift was your first day move that you had to go get. Now, granted, a lot of the running backs went off the board in the first day. Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, and all that. I just didn't feel like that was a huge need for the Bears. And now we're still sitting there. Now, great. Now we've got another running back with no offensive line to block for him.
I mean, Tavon Jenkins was good. And so, Darnell Wright had an okay year for a rookie, which when people say that, doesn't give me a lot of confidence in what's going to happen there. So the interior line is okay. But like you said, there's no center. There's not even a backup center on this team. Lucas Patrick is not even a backup center. He is not. Unless he's playing center for the Argonauts or whatever Canadian team Doubting Thomas is going to come up with this week.
Well, Even Ryan Bates, the trade for Ryan Bates, you didn't trade for him planning on him being your starting center. And if you did, if that's your big move for your starting center, I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, that could just give you depth. I mean, I think you're right there. He did start a lot of games at center, but
Well played, you son of a
has,
bitch.
Buffalo has a center. Like,
there's so much out there in free agency. I didn't understand the need to go get the answer. So I'm not saying I don't like the move. I probably do like the move. I didn't think that it was your primary objective heading into there. Now, another move that shocked me that also really hampers what the Bears are trying to do with Justin Fields is Kirk Cousins getting a 4-year deal with the Falcons. 4 years, 180, 100 of that is guaranteed. I mean, so Fields to the Falcons is, and he should. Kirk Cousins is a top 10 quarterback in this league right now. He really is. He puts up the numbers. Yeah, you say what you want about him not being able to win in January, but he gets you to January.
Yeah,
as a Bears fan, you don't want a guy who can throw for 4,000 yards, 30 plus touchdowns, and get you to January and be excited about January and go in every week being a favorite.
I think you know what you get with him. That's my problem. I think you know what you get with him. I mean, he's had a lot of teams where he had a lot of good wide receivers, top flight wide receivers.
He's going to have it again in Atlanta.
I know a lot of them and good defenses, and he still wasn't able to do it. He still wasn't able to bring him to the promised land. I mean, well, he's not in our division anymore.
That's fairly. I mean,
he's with. I think he'll do fine in Atlanta, but I don't think Atlanta's going to be winning. Is anybody going to have Atlanta picked to win a championship this year or next year?
So somebody said to me today, "What about Fields to Minnesota now if they need a quarterback?" I said, "I will burn this city down." If I have to watch us play against Justin Fields, if Justin Fields goes to Minnesota and he comes into Soldier Field next year and beats Caleb Williams
and runs over Jack Sanborn,
I will burn this motherfucker to the ground. To the ground. Nobody is safe.
In Chicago Fire.
I can't, man. I can't. And I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't. Right now, to me, all signs lead towards trading the number 1 pick. And I don't think there's any way around that. You're not getting a haul for Justin Fields. You're not getting a 2nd-round pick.
No, I don't.
You might get a 3rd, but it's probably going to be more likely 2 4ths and something in that area. But that's all you're going to get right now for Justin Fields because everybody knows that you have to move him.
And Mac Jones went for a 6th-round pick. So, I don't think Mac Jones was going to get the same as Justin Fields was going to get. But
so now you trade the number 1 pick. You get so much more equity in the number 1 overall pick that you try to build around Fields. You try to make people, like I believe in it and I believe you can do it. And if he can't do it, show me that he can't do it. And then in 2 years, because you've got another number 1, like, I don't know. I really don't know what the right answer is. We've said a bunch of times on this show, we just want him to get it right. Just get it right. And right now, I don't know if they're getting it right.
I don't see with this coach and the draft capital that they have and the dwindling cap space the cap space that is starting to dwindle. I don't see them turning this team completely around in this year. And that's the problem.
John Fitzgibbons chiming in says, Caleb wants to play for Washington. Fields ain't going nowhere. I mean, I'm fine with that. I really am. You got to tell me, like, they've got to make this move for that pick. Then they got to make it within the next week.
See, that's dumb too. If you're certain about Caleb Williams, if you were when you went into the combine, if you still want him, why would a 2nd-round pick that turned into a 3rd-round pick change your mind?
It shouldn't. That's what I'm saying. Like, if the Bears were already out on Fields, if they've already decided Fields is not our guy, so now you've got a quarterback. This is the argument that I had a couple days ago with somebody where they were like, "Oh yeah, now they're going to be forced to trade number 1." Well, no, they're not. but you've got to do something. You've got to chalk it up to either A, we're going to trade him for pennies on the dollar because he's not our guy, or B, we're going to trade the number 1 pick, because you can't have both of these guys in the same quarterback room. You can't have Justin Fields going out there learning another damn. And that's another thing if you're Justin Fields. Do you even play this year if the Bears don't give you that extension? Do you go out and play this year, having to learn a third offensive playbook in 4 years, knowing that if you have a bad season, depending on the coaching staff and all that other stuff that surrounds it, that you might be looking at your fourth playbook in 5 years?
Oh my God.
Do you even want that, or do you request a trade? Like, those are the things that you have to look at all of the way around, and you have to look at this and be like, what are the Bears doing? They have to make a decision. They have to make a decision quickly. It needs to be done probably, I would say, if not by the end of this week, at the very least by the end of next week. They have to make a decision.
You have to know what you're doing in the draft, how things are setting up, what trades you can make for the picks that you do have. I still think they're going to get Williams.
Yeah.
Jeremiah checking in. If you told everyone you wanted to trade the first pick, there'd be a line of teams looking. Yeah, I understand this. This is more about the league, what the league thinks of Fields, and it could be what the league think of Fields. And whose fault is that, really? I mean, they haven't done enough for the guy. I think anybody would agree with that.
I don't think it's what the league thinks of Fields. I think it's them calling Poles' bluff, because you can't tell me that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, you were going to get a second or third round pick, or maybe even more, for Justin Fields, and now all of a sudden nobody wants him. Nothing's changed over the last 2 weeks.
Every talking head saying it. You can look at the old videos saying that, oh yeah, they'll get a second round pick and probably like a fifth round pick, something like that for him.
If Fields is really as good as ever, no, because Fields is a question mark still. No, I've never said that Fields does not still have stuff to prove. He does still have stuff to prove. Do I believe that he can prove them? Yes. Do I believe he has the capability to be that guy? Absolutely. If there's a coach, this is the thing about the Bears fans. It's not just about Caleb and Justin Fields. It's about getting the coaching staff right. That's something that we haven't done in 40 plus years. We've never had a coaching staff that can develop talent. We've never had a coaching staff that can develop a quarterback. We've never gone out there and had a front office that can realize talent to go out there and get us something that you will have for more than just their rookie contract. So you have to get the coaching staff right too. Fields has been, I would say, if I was talking coaching versus Justin Fields, I would say 70% of the issues over the last 3 years have been on coaching. 30% of it has been on Fields. 30% of his issues are on him. 70% is on the coaching staff and the lack of ability to develop his talents. Because you don't go and get a quarterback and have your quarterback find his way into your system. You find a way to develop your system around your quarterback. Yeah, that is what this league is about.
In that 70%, you have to add personnel. Somewhere in that 70% is personnel. AJ says 70%. Come on. Watch the games. I mean, 70% has to be personnel. You have Darnell Mooney, who is 15% in 50-50 balls. Do you know what DJ Moore was? He was over 50% in 50-50 balls. You have a guy who your second receiver who's at the bottom of the league and drop passes. I mean, that matters. You have a left tackle that you got in the 5th round from Southern Utah. I hate to keep saying it. You have a center who couldn't hike the ball, who could not hike the ball. And you have another
2 years
turnstile.
For 2 years before you had DJ Moore, your number one target was Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney wouldn't be a 4th wide receiver on 90% of the teams in this league. And he was their number one. It was the same problem that we had when Jay Cutler was around. And they were trying to force Devin Hester to be the number 1 wide receiver. You can't do that stuff. You can't put guys who are not equipped to be number ones and be like, oh, he's the number 1. You have to understand that it's not just, if you're looking at a quarterback and all you're doing is looking at numbers and you're not watching the games, you can't make a full assessment of that quarterback.
we just saw a team go to the Super Bowl and the San Francisco 49ers. We just watched it happen with their best player arguably on the field was their left tackle, Trent Williams. Was arguably the best player on the field, or one of them, for the San Francisco 49ers, because they had a young quarterback who can't really move that well. He's a little slippery. I'm not saying Purdy can't throw either, but can't run really well. You have someone protecting him. Like that counts for something. It has to account for something.
Nick Johnson says so many quarterbacks are in situations where they and their coaches don't mix, but the quarterback talent is able to overcome all of that and win. Fields has yet to come close to that. Name me some. Name me some. Yeah, I need to know who you're talking about. Are you talking about Patrick Mahomes this past year? Patrick Mahomes did a fantastic job. Nobody else in this league is Patrick Mahomes. But he still has coaching. He still has talent around him.
God,
name me
what he walked into.
Who are you talking about? What quarterbacks are in situations where they and their coaches don't mix?
We just named a
succeed.
Guy, we just named a guy, Kirk Cousins, whose favorite band is Creed. Come on. What is he doing? What is he doing to color outside the lines? What is he doing to innovate in this league? No, he had great defenses on the Vikings pretty much almost every year when Zimmer was there. He had pretty decent offensive lines, and he had some of the best receivers in the league.
Yes.
Like
John Fitzgibbons,
so many good years, year after year. When he was with the Redskins, he had Kyle Shanahan as his offensive fucking coordinator. Give us a fucking name. Give us a quarterback that's had a bad situation and did good. Trevor Lawrence, who was number 1 pick in Justin Fields draft. He was a number 1 pick in that draft. Yes, he went to a bad Jaguars team, but now he's got a pretty good coach. And he was. And
how good did he do his rookie year with the bad coaching staff that didn't mix well? They were terrible. He threw the most interceptions ever for a rookie. He was terrible his rookie year. You've got to sit back and take your emotion out of it. You've got to take the emotion out of it when you are talking about Justin Fields or Caleb Williams, because it's not about Justin Fields or Caleb Williams. If we bring in Caleb Williams, fine. Bring in Caleb Williams. If the Bears are content with taking Caleb Williams at the number 1 pick, then fine. But I'm telling you right now, if they are wrong on Shane Waldron, in 3 years, we are going to be sitting here talking about the same damn thing. The Bears have never had a coaching staff capable of developing talent. You can sit there and talk about it all you want. Nick, Rodgers and LaFleur didn't see eye to eye, but they made it to the playoffs. Do you know how much talent they had on that team? Yeah, they didn't see eye to eye, but Rodgers is still, you're talking about a top 5 quarterback all time.
I'll tell you why the Packers and the Lions were pretty good this year, pretty good teams this year. They had 2 of the best offensive lines in the league. Go back and look at the games they're playing. They're playing against some of these teams. They got 5 and 6 seconds to throw the ball.
The Bears are in the playoffs if they win 2 of those 3 games that they lost in historic fashion in the fourth quarter. One of those games, Fields takes a shot downfield and his wide receiver stops running. That would have put the game away. That would have solidified the damn game. But we put that on Fields. You're going to put that on Justin Fields? You're going to put the other 2 losses in historic fashion when they had leads in the fourth quarter? You're going to put that on the quarterback. How? How do you put that on the quarterback? You can't. You have to understand it's a complete thing. The play calling was horrendous this past season. I mean, multiple times where we're running back to back screen passes. Multiple times in a system where you've got wide receivers on the same side of the field running the same route. That doesn't happen in the NFL.
Over and over again. I wish we still had the clips.
It's so you can't keep putting everything on Justin Fields. Like, yes, again, some of it is on Justin Fields. His inability to read a defense on the mid routes, absolutely, that is on Justin Fields. He has to learn that. He has to get better at that. But you have to develop that. Justin Fields is not a pocket passer. Justin Fields is not a pocket guy, so stop keeping him in the pocket. The only time he was terrible, his worst games were games where they would not roll him out, where they would not run the ball off the edge, and he would get murdered. So adjust. Jeremiah says, I'm blaming the public school system. Me as well. Couple other moves. Let's move on. Couple other moves. Saquon Barkley to the Eagles. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley to the Eagles. That's you're not going to keep that team down. They're good under Jalen Hurts. They're going to be a good team again. The Philadelphia Eagles, especially with Saquon Barkley being added to the mix. Josh Jacobs to the Packers and releasing Aaron Jones.
Yeah, that's interesting. Aaron Jones had trouble staying healthy this past year. Maybe that's it. I still think he was a dynamic back, and Josh Jacobs, if memory serves, he didn't have a great year. Did he? He had one the previous year. He had one in 22, but not in 23. I guess they see something. I mean, I hate to say something good about the Packers, but I trust their eye for offense. I mean, LaFleur, he's shown that he can develop a quarterback.
Nick Johnson says other quarterbacks get 4,500 passing yards by lunchtime, but we'll stick with a 2,000 a year guy. No quarterback in this league minus Patrick Mahomes throws for 4,000 yards in that offensive system that Getsy was running. So tomorrow, Nick Johnson, when you and I are on the radio together, for those that don't know, Nick Johnson is my radio partner on our show, Johnson and Combs, on sportsonchicago.com, on Twitch TV. Join us tomorrow. Nick Johnston, pack a lunch, buddy. Jeez, I'm crow. The Patriots get Antonio Gibson, and the Giants get Devin Singletary. Both of those were very good moves for both teams, I think. Both teams definitely needed a running back the Giants definitely after Saquon Barkley leaves. But Devin Singletary, get him relatively cheap, only $9 million guaranteed of his $19.5 million over 3 years. So it's $3 million guaranteed for a running back.
$15 million.
Huh?
The Bears $15 million guaranteed for Swift to the Bears.
Right. So, I mean, those are good deals. The one that really is interesting to me is, did you see what the Jaguars did?
I don't think so.
The Jaguars traded for Mac Jones.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that. Yeah.
So
Mac
why?
Jones, in case, maybe there's not a whole lot of love for Trevor Lawrence.
But Trevor Lawrence and him are the same quarterback. They've had the same numbers. They got drafted in the same draft. They got the same numbers over the first 3 years.
Yeah, they're similar, but I mean, do you think that Trevor Lawrence thing is working out? I don't believe in either one of those quarterbacks. For some reason, he's a star quarterback, and Justin Fields isn't, and the numbers are pretty much the same, except for Justin Fields can run. Not to say Trevor Lawrence can run a little bit.
Trevor Lawrence is thrown for more yards, but Trevor Lawrence has been in a better offensive system for 2 years.
And you also can't keep harping on that yards thing. For the first, their Bears defense was so fucking bad. He had the ball for like 20 minutes of fucking game. He threw the ball 18 times. Like, what do you?
I know. We went through this during the season. That's why I don't even bring it up anymore, because I did all the homework. I gave you guys all the numbers. Over the last 3 years, Justin Fields' numbers are just as good as the top 10 quarterbacks in this league. Every bit as good as the top 10 quarterbacks in the league. The only big difference that he has, disparaging difference that he has in numbers, is yards and wins. And that serves to the talent around him and what that team has been. Last year, they weren't trying to win games. This year, they were trying to win games. They just weren't very good at it.
No. Even when they were way ahead. But go on. Any other trades?
No, that was the Xavier McKinney to the Packers too. They signed the safety Xavier McKinney. That's a good signing for them. That was probably their biggest need this offseason. Of course, Doubting Thomas likes him. Tune in tomorrow, Doubting Thomas.
There's no way he's 5. And Nick Johnson also said he's 5. Justin Fields was 5% passing over 20 yards. That's not right. Actually, no matter how his worst critics say Justin Fields has a great long ball. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way it's 5%. I'm trying to look it up. I saw 60%. I don't think that's true either. If I
Yeah.
find a number, I'll come back.
AJ D. Lorenzo says, what about the Brian Burns trade? Did not hear about that one. I missed that one. And who? I don't know. Who's Brian Burns?
I'm stumped.
Help us out, AJ. Who's Brian Burns and who did he get traded to?
Oh, pass rusher. Panthers. Well, he's on the Panthers, so.
Yeah, that's why nobody knows who he is. Gotcha.
Who
Who'd he go to?
He went to the Giants.
Oh, okay.
Just happened about 30 minutes ago. And now they're giving him a 5-year contract worth $150 million.
Nice. That's a good deal for them. I mean, they got to do something because they're stuck at quarterback this year.
Yeah, tough. Daniel Jones. Talk about a guy with stats who got paid with no.
What about the Giants for Justin Fields?
There's no way can they even do that. They have to figure out the 5th-year option by May of this year. So the Giants wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
And is Russell Wilson really going to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, 1-year deal for $1 million.
No.
Denver paid. Yeah, no, $1 million. Denver paid him so much to go away. That he's getting paid by Denver. They paid him $81 million to go away. And Pittsburgh's like, yeah, give us that. Here we go again with 9 wins in Pittsburgh. 9-8. If that.
I don't know.
If that.
I have faith in Tomlin.
Jeremiah says the Giants make sense, actually. The Jones contract has an out at the same time the 5th-year option would pick up for Fields.
Well, they just traded their 2nd-round pick for Brian Burns. Yeah. Both didn't know because he was on the worst team in the league who gave us a 1st-round pick. But
yeah. Well,
thanks,
guys.
AJ. Anyway,
we have an interview with Alex Cohen lined up. We talked about it a little bit earlier. And the Chicago Cubs, look, they've made some moves. They're sending a lot of guys back to Iowa, including Pete Crow Armstrong. Not surprising there at all. Owen Casey going back down to AAA. And Matt Shaw going back down to AAA. The AAA Iowa Cubs are going to have a fantastic team down there. They're going to be fun to watch.
He seemed excited. This is the most exciting time to be a fan in sports.
Yeah.
It's really not any longer is it after a championship because usually you lose some guys and you don't win another one unless you're the Chiefs. But when you're starting to get good, this is the most fun time to be a fan of a team.
Yeah, so this is the interview with Alex Cohen. Guys, hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely shoot in whatever comments that you want. We'll go ahead and pull them up, and then we will talk about them after the interview. Here we go. On Combs and Fitz Windy City Sports Talk, we've got Alex Cohen, the voice of the Iowa Cubs, award-winning voice of the Iowa Cubs. Alex Cohen,
Ballpark Digest, broadcaster of the year.
Yeah,
that is prestigious. Pretty cool.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on. And that doesn't get old. It's quite an honor. It's something that I worked really hard for, and for the people who voted and the people who have followed along, I sincerely appreciate it.
Absolutely. So how did you get into becoming a broadcaster? Like what inspired you? Like what made you say, hey, look, I want to call baseball games?
Yeah. I mean, what inspired me was, I love talking. I got in trouble for talking and I wanted a job where I wouldn't get in trouble for talking. So I think it started when I was younger. I had older siblings and like younger uncles that would all play video games. And they wouldn't let me play. So in order to make my presence felt, I broadcasted those games so I could be as loud and obnoxious as possible. And I knew that I liked it. I listened to sports talk radio when I was a kid and, tried to call in and deepen my voice as much as possible so they wouldn't kick me off the radio. And then when I was in high school, my buddies and I started the sports broadcasting club. I grew up just outside of Philadelphia. And all 3 of us are still in the industry, 17 years later, which is pretty cool. Broadcasted everything, football, basketball, hockey, volleyball, softball, powder puff football, lacrosse, field hockey. The only sport that I didn't do was baseball because I played. Played baseball in high school. Realized that 83-mile-per-hour flat fastballs probably weren't going to get me to the big leagues. So then went to college at Indiana University. Did student radio. Interned in for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, AAA affiliate for the Phillies. 2009, 2010. Then graduated in 2011. It's 2024 now. So what? 14th year. In minor league baseball. So it's been a long run. I've been working for minor league teams in Huntsville, Alabama, Idaho Falls, Idaho, Bowling Green, Kentucky, Sojay, Illinois. Worked out in Australia for a year. Now, Iowa here in Des Moines. So it's a lot of states, a lot of area codes, a lot of time zones checked off my list.
I will say, Kyle Hendricks and Greg Maddux made a career off of 80-mile-an-hour fastballs, and they did it pretty well. So I'm not saying that you couldn't have had a career with an 80-mile-an-hour fastball.
There's a problem with my fastball being flat and right at the belt, and people hit it very far back in 2006, 2007 when I was in high school. I can't even imagine what they would do in professional baseball. So
yeah, absolutely.
Those games that you broadcasted for your uncles and cousins or brothers or whatever, was any of that RBI baseball? Because I think I've done
it was RBI baseball. It was the Sega Genesis N64, like Ken Griffey Jr. baseball.
Oh, yes.
Obviously, MLB The Show. There was one old school Sega Genesis game. It's like 1994. My team was I really liked the Indians because they had Kenny Lofton, Albert Bell, early Manny Ramirez, like the Baltimore Orioles as well with Cal Ripken Jr., Rafael Palmeiro. So it was more like Sega Genesis and then like the beginning of N64.
A lot of people don't realize that announcers, they don't always announce for the teams that they grew up rooting for. Like it's not like, all of these guys who are announcing games grew up as fans of the team. I'm assuming that since you grew up in Philadelphia, you're probably closer to maybe a Philadelphia Phillies fan or somebody there on the East Coast, Atlanta Braves, something like that. What was your growing up like? Did you ever watch Cubs games? I mean, WGN was kind of a national.
Oh, I definitely did. Yeah, I definitely watched WGN, and I grew up a Philadelphia sports fan, so it was Phillies, Eagles, Sixers for me, a little bit Flyers, but I went to school at Indiana University, and down in Bloomington, Indiana, there's a lot of Cubs fans. I would say out of my 7 really good friends, 5 of them are diehard Cubs fans. So just being with them, visiting them during the summer, going to Wrigley Field as a college kid. I mean, that is one of like my fondest memories when I think it was like my freshman year of college, went and visited my buddies. We were going to go to one Cubs game because I'd never been to Wrigley Field before. It was a Friday afternoon. We ended up going to all 3 games. It was Cubs Marlins, got a couple foul balls, in our section, balls thrown up to our section. Just was really able to enjoy it. So really, I listened to some Cubs games, watched some Cubs games when I was in middle school and high school on WGN, and then obviously, the nationally televised games. But really in college, with my friends being from the Chicagoland area and how diehard they were, I really started getting into Cubs, how their fan base was. At that point, there was still the lovable loser mentality, but 2016 obviously changed that.
How surreal is it for you now when you walk into a booth, let's say spring training for say, you were just in Arizona calling games for Marquee. How surreal is it for you to be in a booth or around the booth where a guy like a Hall of Famer like Pat Hughes is at and he's talking with him? Like, does it hit you at a certain point?
It's always surreal. There's only certain moments where I've really had to like pinch myself. Last year, spring training, got to call the Cactus League opener with Ron Coomer on 670 The Score. It was like the 6th inning. I felt 2 hands on my shoulders. Somebody came in between innings. It was Eddie Vedder because Eddie Vedder and Ron Coomer are really good friends. And that one, I was like, oh my goodness, like.
Wow.
Couple 4-letter words, came up in my head that I couldn't say on air. But it was I mean, it's always pretty cool. Just being able to call baseball a job and, being able to talk to people like, Pat Hughes and Boog Shambi and, being able to call games with, guys like Ryan Dempster, Ted Lilly, Ryan Sweeney, Jim DeShays. I mean, it's when you look, into the tapes, into the archives, it's stuff that I'm going to be pretty proud of.
So the Cubs are going to have an interesting time this year, right? Because the addition of Cody Bellinger gives them some free way with guys like PCA, guys like Michael Bush. It gives them a little bit of time to allow PCA to grow in AAA and give him some more at bats in AAA while they see what Michael Bush has. And if Michael Bush struggles, they can throw Bellinger at first and bring PCA up from AAA. What's it going to be like for you, though, in Iowa? Because you're going to see Owen Casey on an everyday basis. You're going to see all of these guys that are coming up and are really ready to be major league talent. What's that like for you?
They're going to be able to hit. I mean, you look at this Iowa Cubs team in 2023, they set or were close to setting nearly every offensive franchise record. And I think this year, if the start is any indication, having a guy like Matt Mervis at first, PCA in center, Owen Casey and right, the possibility of having Alexander Canario, the possibility of having Matt Shaw. I mean, this is a team that could be among the best offensively in Iowa Cubs history and Cubs minor league history. I mean, they are that good. They are that talented. And you still have guys like David Bodie, Chase Strumpf, who had 20-plus home runs, Luis Vasquez, who had 20-plus home runs. Darius Hill was a minor league hit king in 2022. Bryce Wyndham, a catcher, hit over 300. Pablo Aliendo hit 16 home runs last year. I mean, there's just so many weapons for not only the Iowa Cubs, the Chicago Cubs, but all throughout the Cubs, organization depth-wise.
Yeah, it looks like we lost my broadcast partner here. I don't know what happened there. He just left.
Yeah.
But it's fine. We'll keep going here. With David Bodie. Let's take David Bodie, for example.
Sure.
He's a guy that a lot of Cubs fans have kind of forgotten about, kind of written off. When you see that guy, what are you seeing from him down in AAA? Why has he not been given a chance, in your opinion, to come up and have a chance?
I mean, he played 5 years up in the big leagues. I mean, I think in 2023 they decided they wanted to make a little bit more of a youth movement and see what the younger guys could do. David Ross and the organization made that choice, and now it's a new era. I mean, Craig Counsell's there. It's a 5-year deal worth X amount of dollars, and I think if the spring is any indication, you'll see that Craig Counsell will do whatever he needs to do to win games. He's not under a time watch. He's not getting his decision second guessed. Not that David Ross was, but I mean, when you invest 5 years into a manager, you're going to give him some grace time to make his decisions and be able to set that tone and mentality in the locker room. And I guarantee you, if Craig Counsell thinks that David Bodie is one of the 26 best players in the Cubs organization and he can help them win games, then David Bodie will be up there helping them win games.
So outside of the big names, outside of the Owen Caseys and the Matt Shaws and the names that we know, the top 5 or 6 prospects in the Cubs organization, give me a name to watch out for. Who should I be looking out for that you've seen and you're like, wow, this guy's going to be something really good?
Yeah, I mean, I think Luis Vasquez, so we've seen a little bit during spring training. He's now on the 40-man roster. I mean, he's always been a big league defender, but he finally, the hitting clicked. I think it was because of the help of John Maley, who was the Iowa Cubs hitting coach, is now up in the big leagues as their assistant hitting coach. But, Luis Vasquez, if that clicks, if, the 20 home runs and the 360 on base percentage, if that wasn't a mirage, I mean, if that could somehow be 75% of his, consistent level of, what he could do offensively, he's a big leaguer. I mean, he's a guy who could play Gold Glove caliber shortstop. He could play big league second base. He could play big league third base. Good kid, quick hands, strong arm. And if the bat is able to play at even a marginal level, I think he's a big leaguer and a great depth piece.
Down that same road, I'm unfortunately for this interview a White Sox fan, and watching Paul Konerko, one of my favorite things about baseball is how hard it is, and just watching Paul Konerko, one of the biggest pleasures of watching baseball for me was watching Paul Konerko come along. I don't know if anybody remembers the 2003 season, but he was terrible. He wasn't a consistent player, and it took him forever to get it. And I guess as a AAA announcer, you see a lot of that. Like you see a lot of guys like maybe not figure it out. Is there, and I just think being around them every day, you'd probably root for these guys, and you probably have, is there any guys that maybe we haven't heard of, guys that you root for, maybe older guys that have been in the minor leagues for a while that you root for to get some playing time in the majors, or maybe figure it out this year that you're double clicking on?
Yeah, I think Matt Mervis is that guy for me. I think that if he gets a consistent, at bat playing time, sort of regimen up with the big leagues last year, we're not talking about him at the AAA level. You're talking about him staying at the big league level. He was hitting the ball hard. His BABIP numbers were not in his favor. I think Matt's a big league player, especially against righties, and he's a guy who I think helps every single big league club out there, especially with his power, athleticism, strong arm. He's really starting to pick it at first, get his footwork. So I think for me I think Matt Mervis is a big league player, and I think that he needs the at-bats and the leeway to show that, you know what, if I go 1 for 13 in my first 5 games, I'm not going to get bench an option. Just give him an opportunity, whether that's 10 or 20 games, whether that's 1 or 2 months, to go out there, get consistent at bats, being a first base or a DH option, and showing what he can do. Because if you look at Mervis, he's accomplished all that he's really needed to at the AAA level. He had a .399 on base percentage last year. I mean, he's a guy who's averaged 29 home runs per year over the last 2 years. It's time for him to get a shot up in the big leagues, in my opinion, whether that's with the Cubs or with somebody else.
Yeah, we were just talking about him on last week's show. Is that one of the things, or what are the things you look for when you're broadcasting a game and a player, or within a game, like things you're trying to figure out, like as you're telling the story of the game? I mean, what are the things you look for, and maybe a player or a pitcher or what have you?
I mean, it's more a process. It's just seeing growth from March 29th when we're playing our first game to April 29th to May 29th to June 29th. Like, let's say in the month of April, if the guy's striking out a lot, chasing with 2 strikes, let's say the weather gets warmer, he's starting to see more pitches. Are his 2-strike, pitches, are those at bats better? Is he drawing more walks? Is he making contact? So I think it's just the process and seeing that take shape and see if there is growth from March 29th to April 29th to May 29th. And if there is, then they are trending in the right direction. If they are playing well and then still playing well after that month and 2 months, that's really good too. If a guy is struggling and then those struggles can continue to intensify and get more prolonged, then hopefully, they can make changes. But the proof is in the pudding, so to speak.
So I've had a lot of conversation over the years with different ball players. I've actually been able to talk to Johnny Bench, been able to talk to some older players. And we had Andrew Romine on a podcast about a year ago. I had a conversation with Andrew Romine. He's great.
The best. He's
fantastic. But this is where we kind of get into the a little bit harder questions. This is more opinionated questions. Sure. Something that with the 3 people that watch our show, you might get in a little bit of trouble for, if you will. So
depends on my answer. Yeah, no comment might be my best.
My favorite one to talk about, and this is something I debate all the time, it's the steroid era. Okay. And we're gonna get into Sammy in a little bit. You're gonna get in some trouble there. We're gonna get into Sammy there. But when it comes to the steroid era, should the steroid era players be allowed in the Hall of Fame?
I'm pretty public about it. I think that if your statistics and your numbers and how you were felt as a baseball player in your era, if that all matches up, then yeah. I mean, if you are linked to steroids, if you've tested positive, put them in another wing. Cooperstown's a very big place. There's big areas. You can have an entirely different building with steroid era, because that is a part of baseball. I mean, that brought me as a 10-year-old back into the game. It was a 1998 home run chase between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. And, Sammy Sosa had 60 homers in 5 consecutive years. You bet your bottom dollar that he should be in the Hall of Fame. You bet your bottom dollar that Mark McGwire should be in the Hall of Fame. It could be in a different wing. It could be in a different building. But with the impact that they made on baseball, yeah, they should be recognized in Cooperstown.
I just find it funny that when it comes to baseball, we draw a line at steroids, but we let guys who, were known for much worse things into the Hall of Fame.
Well, it's not even
we draw the moral compass out.
Sorry to interrupt you. It's selective with steroids. Remember, David Ortiz was a good guy. He obviously had steroid links to him, and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But because Barry Bonds wasn't kind to the media and had a reputation, the best player of all time. And I will go down, talk. You can tweet this, you can write this. He is the best player of all time.
I say it every time we talk
Fame.
about it.
And there is something wrong with that, in my opinion. Granted,
Yes.
should he be in the Hall of Fame with everybody else? Maybe not. But Cooperstown, there's a lot of surface area there. Put another building.
I believe he belongs there with everybody else, because I'm with you. To me, when I do my list of all-time greatest players in Major League history, Barry Bonds goes number one. I don't. You look at the numbers; it's ridiculous.
It's Barry Lamar Bonds, and if Barry Bonds is not in the Hall of Fame, and Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame, and there probably shouldn't be a Hall of Famer. They lose the Hall of Fame. So again, like, I'm fine with keeping it separate. I'm fine with keeping them in another building or having a steroid era wall and a section of the Hall of Fame. Like, I'm fine with separating the guys who are clean and who weren't. I think that that's definitely part of it, and there should be that distinction, but they are part of the history of baseball, and anybody with two eyes could tell you that Barry Bonds is a Hall of Fame baseball player, and he deserves to be there.
Absolutely. So let's talk about another Hall of Famer, and this is the one that you might want to, you might have to mind your P's and Q's about how you answer, but I kind of hope you don't.
Come on.
Sammy Sosa has not been brought into the Cubs Hall of Fame. Now they just elected, Aramis Ramirez and Kerry Wood into the Hall of Fame. Bona fide Cubs Hall of Famers for sure, but to me, Sammy Sosa is on a different tier of that. Now, when it comes to ownership has been on the record of saying they want some sort of, contrition from Sammy Sosa. And my question for everybody is, and I've never really gotten an answer for this, is why does the player have to have contrition, and why does Major League Baseball ownership and the front office get to act like they didn't know that any of this stuff was going on?
Because we have no idea. We have no idea what they knew. We have no idea what they didn't know. We have no idea what acrimony was built in that building, in that locker room, in those meetings. So only they know that. Only Sammy and the organization knows the conversations that they've had, the truths and the lies and the misconceptions. So, I think for us to speculate, we're only getting 15% of it, 20% of it, 25%. If we had a little more look into what went on in those talks, what went on in the locker room, that would be great, but we don't have that. So
right.
I think unless we have that, unless there is a reconciliation and that, the ownership and Sammy, like, they have conversations and they tell the public what those conversations are, we're never really going to know what exactly happened.
Right. So should Sammy be a Cubs Hall of Famer?
I'm more on, for me, the proof is in the pudding. I lie in stats. If you are a Hall of Fame player, you should be in the Hall of Fame, because we don't know, what the other guys in the Hall of Fame, like what skeletons they have in their closet, what they did behind closed doors. And I think for me, it's just as simple as, if you had the numbers to be in the Hall of Fame, you're in the Hall of Fame. Or you could be in a different wing, you could be in a different building. But if you are a Hall of Fame player, statistically speaking, you should be in the Hall of Fame.
All right, and so I one of the other things I want to know, we're gonna go back to more of like the announcing aspect of it now. Sure. One of the things I want to know is for people that are breaking into the business, for the young kids that are coming out of high school, going into college, and they want to become announcers, for guys like me who are 42 and just now getting into sports media, what I guess. What would you say to people like that trying to get into the sports media? What would you recommend for them to, what path, kind of would help them out to get to even the minor leagues, like college, minor leagues, just being an announcer? What would you recommend to them?
Again, it's not really a path, it's a process. What you're doing right now with a nice microphone in front of your face, talking to people who are in the industry, keep on doing that. If you're a play-by-play broadcaster, get yourself a mixer, get yourself a headset, email colleges, minor league teams to see if they have an open booth. Go into that said booth with a mixer, with your computer, with Audacity, and cut yourself a tape. Keep on getting more and more experience. Keep on doing stuff like this and to being in your shoes. If you're a play-by-play person, get those innings, get those minutes, get those reps. Keep on sending out those tapes to people where you can get critiques and find your rhythm and find your personality on air.
All right. Well, hey, look, if you ever need any help up in Iowa, man, you just give me a call. I will be there. I will drive right there. I'll drop everything. Honey, I'm gone. That's just how it goes. Fitz, you got anything before we let him go?
I just wanted to know what's your predictions this season for the Cubs? What kind of offseason did you think they had? Just really quickly before we end, wanted to know what you thought on that end.
Yeah, I'll go on record and say I think that they win the NL Central. I think that they're the best team in the Central. I think that they might have the best defense in all of baseball with a Gold Glove shortstop, a Gold Glove second baseman, a Gold Glove left fielder, and a Gold Glove center fielder who could be a Gold Glove first baseman. And if he has a Gold Glove first baseman, you have another Gold Glove center fielder you could thrust into that role. So I think they're the best defensive team in baseball. I think getting Cody Bellinger back on a 3-year deal with some opt-outs. I mean, he won the MVP in 2019. He was a comeback player of the year this year. You have guys who are certain X factors. Christopher Morel's bat is an X factor. Michael Bush's bat is an X factor. Jordan Wicks' left arm is an X factor. And if 2 of those 3 things click, they're the best team in the Central. So I think they're deep. I think they got a lot better bullpen-wise. I think Hector Neris is really going to help. I think that Cody Bellinger, being back into the fold, playing center field and first base is helping. I think that the young players getting more and more mature. Pete Crow Armstrong in his 21-year-old season. Michael Bush obviously getting him. He was a guy who was behind Freddie Freeman with the Dodgers. I think he deserves a chance. So. I think they're deeper. I think having the second best farm system in all of minor league baseball per MLB.com, that certainly helps as well. And a lot of those guys are on, the AAA path and the AA path. So they're on the precipice of making the big leagues. So I think they're just the deepest team in the Central, and I think they're going to win the Central.
Absolutely. We appreciate it. Well, Alex, we appreciate you coming on the show. We appreciate you helping us out and being a part of this, man. And we would love to have you anytime.
Thanks
I appreciate you guys having me. You enjoy the rest of your time, and looking forward to baseball season.
So there we go. That was Alex Cohen, voice of the Iowa Cubs, here on Combs and Fitz, Windy City Sports Talk. Fitzy, man, that was a great interview.
Yeah, I thought it went really well, other than me skipping out, I guess, as Doubting Thomas said.
John wanted to know if you were going to ask any questions at some point.
I was having Wi-Fi troubles. I haven't had a Wi-Fi trouble on the show in a year, so obviously we have a decent guest on, and I have Wi-Fi trouble. But I had two observations.
Yeah.
Or not they're not even really observations. One, Ty Cobb killed a man is one of the best arguments I have heard for putting Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame.
I say it all the time.
Jeremiah just said it.
Yeah, he killed a man with a baseball bat, a black man, for walking on the same sidewalk as him, and then used the bat in a game and hit a home run.
And when Alex kept on saying, you don't know what other guys did in other eras. Do you know how much it took for me not to tie Hitler to the Major League Baseball? And how Major League Baseball players went to World War II and came back with amphetamines and gave it to all their, didn't come back with amphetamines, but knew about amphetamines and started in baseball. I wanted to go down that track, but I was like, and then he kept saying it, and I was like, I want to do it so bad.
This was the comment of the interview, though. I'm fairly certain Hawk has killed a fair amount of hookers with Hall of Famers.
And I bet you some of those hookers are in the back of Doubting Thomas's minivan.
Or in his minivan or his station wagon.
Oh, yeah, station wagon.
Shanna wants to know if she was missed last week. You're always missed, Shanna. Yeah. Anytime our viewers are not here, we miss them for certain. Says Chicago Fire has an opening for an announcer. Look, I want to be a play-by-play and color guy. If I had to do it for soccer, I would jump off a bridge.
Why? You don't like ties?
I can't do soccer, man. It's the one sport that I have zero interest in soccer. Like, I mean, I would rather go to 82 straight NBA games. Lies! I said that, Doubting Thomas.
It's a station wagon, you fucks. Station wagon, minivan, what the hell? Same thing. Station wagon is the minivan of the 70s.
Girl trip vacation last week in Daytona. And Fitz wasn't invited?
I am. What the fuck?
Soccer, easiest sport to announce. Huh? Maybe. I did women's college lacrosse a couple weeks ago. That was interesting.
Yeah, did you
It was
even know what the
interesting.
hell we were doing?
Yeah, I know lacrosse.
You do?
Yes.
Where does the forward play?
You don't have a forward.
Exactly. You just passed the test. I have no idea what I'm talking about. No idea. Not even a clue. Never even watched lacrosse.
I could have just made it up and you wouldn't have known I was making it up.
I was actually gonna say there isn't any forwards.
Oh my god.
Weed.
That is freaking hilarious. But no, that was a great interview with Alex Cohen. Look, I agree with him. I think the Cubs are going to win the Central. I really do. I think that the Cubs are the best team in National League Central. I think the Reds are going to be close. Again, I don't think that the Cardinals are going to be a factor at all. At all.
Well played, you son of a bitch.
Doubting Thomas wants Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul picks before this is over. Why is boxing?
Is this so? Here's my question.
Only had celebrity boxing where they had the claymation people fight each other. It's sort of like that's what boxing is now.
I've seen at first I was like, oh, this is going to be good. I think Tyson could probably knock him out. But then now I've seen so many videos of these two like doing stupid shit.
Yeah, it's
together that this is just going to end up being an exhibition and it's nobody's even going to hit one another. It's going to be like watching the NBA All-Star game.
It could be, and you know, if they would have done this 4 years ago, that might have actually been interesting. But the difference between 53 and 57 is a wide gap. You age rapidly when you get into your 50s.
But if you watch Tyson train, man, Tyson still got it, man.
Yeah.
I think he could actually, if it was an actual fight, I think he could probably at least put up a fight against Jake Paul. And I do know, and that's the thing when it comes to Jake Paul, this does nothing for Jake Paul, because if you beat Mike Tyson, anybody with a brain is going to be like, well, the guy was 60. Of course you beat him. But if you lose to Mike Tyson, people are going to be like, wow, you lost to a 60-year-old Mike Tyson.
Yeah, exactly, dude. He lost to Tyson Fury's brother.
Yeah.
Little brother. And when I mean little, I'm not just saying younger, smaller, much smaller, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked like an okay fighter, but he lost to him.
Marco says, I heard 18-ounce gloves and headgear. It's a pillow fight.
Oh, my God.
Nick Johnson says Paul might be faster because of age, but Tyson's power is unmatched even at 56. I mean, I agree. I've watched him, like I've watched the videos of him training. This guy still looks like he can be a I wouldn't want to get in the ring with him. I don't care how old he is.
No, thank you.
But if Jake Paul, if this is going to be an exhibition and if Marco is right and this is going to be 18-ounce gloves and headgear, forget it. I don't even want to watch it. I'm not even going to waste my time. No wonder it's going to be free on whatever, Netflix.
I'd rather watch Ozzie Guillen fight Tony La Russa.
It's not even going to be a pay-per-view, which is why I don't think like this isn't a real fight. No, this is just a money grab for both guys.
Even the Roy Jones Jr. fight wasn't real. After like the first 2 rounds, I think or maybe after the first round, they told Tyson to stop hitting him in the head. So
and that's where my initial thought was, because people initially were like, oh yeah, this could be a money. Mike Tyson's that one guy who I think is crazy enough that if, Paul hits him just a little bit too hard, it might be an exhibition right up until that point.
Yeah, he might.
And Tyson could just snap and just kill him. Like,
he might.
I saw the video of Jake Paul telling his mom he's going to fight Mike Tyson, and she laughed and says, what if he knocks you out?
Doubting Tom says, let's assume they're fighting for real. Make some picks.
I would take Mike Tyson.
Really?
I would take Mike Tyson. If they're fighting for real, I'm taking Tyson.
I mean,
I would put my money on, if it was a real fight, I'm putting my money on Tyson, and I would go and I would bet it, and I would bet large on it.
I don't even think Jake Paul's mom's rooting for him. So I mean, I root for Tyson. I just can't take a guy who's gonna. Well, he'll be 57 when the fight goes off. Is that right?
Yeah.
Does Tyson get to use the tiger? I don't think he owns tigers anymore.
That's fair. Jake Paul, he's just one of those guys, man. He just fights nobodies, and he's a YouTuber, and he's one of those guys that just like he's the epitome of what's wrong with social media influencers. Because this guy is made famous for being an ass clown. And that's what he is. I mean, Jake Paul's a clown.
Absolutely. He came out with some like kind of game where you like invest money in it and then you could make money off of it, and you just like took people's money.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of shady things. Yeah, and it's all like they think nothing counts because it's on social media because they filmed it.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't think it's ever been good for boxing. I don't care. Oh, it brings viewers in. To what? He fought a nobody a couple weeks ago. That Ryan Bolden.
Yeah.
Good first name, but the guy.
There's a reason he got knocked out in the first round.
Yeah, the guy couldn't fight. It was like watching a fight at your local bar, like a boxing match that they have at a local bar. That's what it looked like.
See, he's not a genius, though. He's just, I mean, well, I guess it depends on how you look at it. I mean, he's really smart when it comes to screwing people and making them thinking that he's something when he's not, because he's not. I really would love for him to, if he's really as tough as he says he is, and if he thinks he's really that good of a fighter, take on one of these UFC guys and crawl on the octagon, crawl into their world.
Oh boy.
Take on a real even if you don't want to do that, take on a real boxer in a boxing ring.
Couldn't he fought Francis? Couldn't he fought instead of having him go in against
No, Francis Ngannou, I think his weight class is way above Paul's. I don't know. Is Jake Paul a heavyweight?
I think he's a heavyweight. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think he is a heavyweight. I mean, Tyson's considered a heavyweight still, I would think.
No, I don't think still.
He's over 200.
What's heavyweight? 220 up?
No, it's I think it's anybody over 205 pounds.
I'm looking it up right now.
Downing Thomas should know. Yeah, it's anybody over, like, I think it's 205 pounds and then up. So I mean, he could fight. And that
he's a cruiserweight.
He's a cruiserweight. Andrew, boy. This is dumb.
That's what they have him listed as, is that he's a cruiserweight. He's 6'1" and he's 199.
Okay, I would think anybody over 200 then is heavyweight.
Well, I mean, cruiserweight wouldn't be. Cruiserweight's underneath light heavyweight, right?
No, cruiserweight's, I think, right under heavyweight. See, I don't know a lot about that. I don't know a lot about the cruiserweight division. The last good fighter in the cruiserweight division was Evander Holyfield, and then he took a bunch of steroids and got up to heavyweight.
All right, so here we go. I'm looking it up right now. So, it goes. Cruiserweight is 175 to 200. Bridger weight is 200 to 224, which is weird. Heavyweight is 200 pounds or more, which is really weird how that works. Light heavyweight is 168 to 175. So I guess the fact that he's 199 just underneath. Who wins, Combs versus Fitz?
We've already done this. I beat him so bad, Combs doesn't even remember fighting.
Yeah. Combs would murder Fitz.
Yeah, okay.
Lies!
Rey Mysterio is the only cruiserweight I recognize. Unreal. All right, man. Well, it's been a great show. We talked a lot of NFL, talked a lot of Bears. It's going to be a very much interesting. What do they got? 2 weeks now of the free agent signing period, I believe. And then And then we've got April 25th is the draft. It's going to be a great draft night. Combs and Fitz. We're going to be live in Rosemont with our guys from Below the Whistle. And we are going to be at the Dave & Buster's in Rosemont. So definitely plan an outing for draft night at Dave & Buster's in Rosemont. Bring your kids, let them go play, come get drunk, listen to some good sports talk on draft night. It was a great time last time, and we didn't have these guys from Blow the Whistle. I guarantee you guys it's going to be a blast. There's going to be a lot of giveaways. There's going to be some raffles. There's going to be all sorts of stuff. So definitely something you guys might want to do. John says, think maybe talk White Sox someday.
Yeah.
We want to talk about how they're about to lose their stadium deal to the Bears.
That doesn't even make any sense.
They're not good. The city is not going to approve two stadiums at the same time.
Well, I don't
we'll
think
talk about this next week. Let this play out for a week, and we'll talk about it next week. We will talk Sox next week. The problem is nobody wants to talk Sox because they don't matter. But we'll talk Sox next week.
They still play in Major League Baseball. There's gonna
have a good night, everybody. Hope you enjoyed Combs and Fitz Windy City Sports.